Are we ready?
Let's go.
Give it up.
Let's go, number 18.
Number 18.
Let's go.
Wow. Welcome to, in case you missed it, our behind the scenes scoop at what happens at the Dream HQ, aka KASE Real Estate. I'm one of the hosts, Keven Stirdivant, aka Kevion. Who are you over here to my
Justin
right?
Lee.
Justin Lee.
Eli Stirdivant.
Eli
Let's go.
Stirdivant. Let's go. What's new, y'all?
This table.
Thanksgiving, the table. This is a new old table. I did a meeting with my boy Charles a couple weeks ago with the old table.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
feeling
like, this isn't deserving of my dude Charles's energy. It just felt like I was having him sit down over some cardboard.
Had to level up.
You know what? I'm bringing back the marble.
Some black marble. Isn't this
No.
also a ping pong table?
Yeah.
You know what? That's right.
Like a super luxury ping pong table?
That's right. It's right in there, the net.
Let's get it out.
For these last 4 weeks of 2023, it's time to have some fun. That's been a big theme.
Yeah.
You know, that's been a huge theme in a lot of our conversations is you got to have fun.
Yes.
You know, I think that was one of the biggest breakthroughs we had this year. Is to kind of tell a long story short, you were operating in real estate just like in the way that I suggest you should do real estate, which this is I have this very like militant way of doing things, which works. It works.
Yeah, it works.
But if you don't also put your spin on it, which with my militant way of doing real estate, I also put my personal spin on it.
Yeah.
I chase architecture. I involve skateboarding. I involve personal development. I do all these other things that keep it alive for me.
Yes.
And you were just doing the militant part.
Yeah.
Which can be so exhausting.
Yeah, it can be.
I think too, we've been getting to talk about like next year, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not really waiting till January to plan next year.
Right.
We've been talking about 2024 since October.
Yes.
So it's been cool to like kind of hear everybody like, hey, let's really game plan what next year looks like. And everybody's kind of in agreement, like let's level up and how are we going to do that? Let's be more organized. I think the office next door is kind of a big
100%
fun thing too.
Or we are seeing people fall off.
Yeah,
we're just being totally honest. The people that I'm seeing fall off, and I call it fall off because look, I don't care. If you're leaving real estate, something occurred where you're throwing in the towel, and that's just the reality. No matter how you skin it, you were aiming to do this thing, and it did not work.
Yep.
Right, and I'm calling that falling off. And the interesting thing is the people that I see having to do that are not the people who are like, Kev, what could I do differently?
Yeah.
Are not the people like Justin who are like, man, I need to do a one-on-one with you. Because if they know if we do a one-on-one, I'm going straight into your head. I'm going straight into your heart, your soul. I need to know what's really going on.
Yeah.
And most people aren't willing to really have those conversations.
Yeah.
Because they're just not ready to do the work.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm seeing like 10 to 20%, and I'm watching other people in our industry as a whole. I'm like, whoa, that person left.
Yeah,
Crazy. Yeah. That's the number one thing because so many people come to me because I'm younger and people kind of see me doing well, and they're like, Eli, I want to get into real estate. What do I have to do? Like,
don't do it.
Basically, I tell the first thing I tell everybody is like, hey, just so you know.
Do you know how to sell something?
I just tell them the failure rate. It's like, what, over 85% after the first year?
Yeah, 18 months.
So we've been in it, me and Justin, this is our 6th year, right? 2018 we started?
Yeah.
So like going into our 5th, 6th year, it's like we're still going.
Let's also have a little bit of a be honest, right? What percentage off are you in your volume goals for this year?
Grip.
And guess what?
Grip.
So am I.
Dude, and you have to be ready to like take hits in this market. Like
I think most people, because look, we're gonna do our post too that says what we did for 2023, and it's gonna make us look really awesome. And that, great. I don't think anybody's going to do a post that says how much they were off.
Yeah.
How much they were off. I think I'm going to actually do a post, and I'm going to share how much I'm actually off of the goal.
Yeah.
that I was aiming for and celebrate that.
Yeah.
I think
that's how else do you learn?
Yeah, that's what I was telling you yesterday. Like, although I am far off from my volume goal, I reflect back on this year and think of it as such a W because of the things that I had to learn through my real estate business, through like my like mindset game, and all that taking into account and going into next year is just going to make me a better agent. Like, if I didn't go through this, nothing would have caused me to shift.
Every single person who has created something extraordinary of every industry has gone through a valley where they ask themselves, should I keep going?
Yeah.
And that's what separates people who do good and people who do great, is having that perseverance to keep going and look at the results and a whole bunch of results that may not be the results that you want and say, you know what, something's calling me to do more. In 2017, I got offered a check to leave KASE. Basically, I got offered a check from another company to bring another company to Orange County. That check would have been a 7-figure check. That was at a time in my career where I had started to earn 7 figures in commissions, and I was offered a check to basically bring another company, but I could not have KASE. And I thought about it because at that time, I was about 3 years into running KASE as a company, even though we were inside of another brokerage. I had my own office space, had my own director of ops, had my own marketing team, and I was already operating like my own brokerage. And it was so hard. Imagine this. Imagine in a 3-year period having 80 people come into a brokerage and seeing 80 people leave. Now, 80 more people joined as well, but that first group of 80, it was like, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
And so many hurdles, so many challenges, so many mistakes. And this is why it's so important that you choose the right partner, because if it was not for Alana, I would have been done.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't have happened. And we wouldn't have our own thing. I would have just like been out there helping another company. And as the saying goes, you either have a clear, inspired vision, or you're helping somebody create theirs.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important that you have the right partners, you're surrounded by the right people, and that you know that if it's something big and something awesome, you're going to have seasons where you're asking yourselves, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Should I keep going? And that's a positive thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of advice to give to people who are really like either off their goals or just struggling in general or about to start. I feel like it's kind of similar advice that you'd give, like, hey, look, have people in your corner that are supporting you and keeping you accountable to your goals. Have your finances set up in a safe way. I think anytime the economy shifts, it's just important in general. But I think especially in real estate, we don't have like a salary. Like
live below your means.
Yeah, live below your means. Also learning how to invest properly and save properly are like two totally different things.
There is definitely not enough conversations, not enough social media, not enough examples. And I'm definitely not the one that's sharing enough knowledge and insight in this area, but it's something that since we've hired Phil to really work with us is our new financial advisor, I'm learning so much where I'm like, damn, this is incredible. What episode did we have Phil on? Do you remember, KP?
16?
Yeah, such a Jedi, such a weapon. But not enough of that because in real estate, you get paid. First of all, you don't have the taxes taken out of your check, right? And it's so easy, I think, to get paid at this one large lump sum, and you don't even think about all the time and energy it took to get that.
I know. It's pretty crazy.
Like, I closed a deal that took 5 years, bro.
Yeah.
And when I got it, I completely forgot of all the challenges that I went through.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? It was a 5-year journey.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Something I wanted to talk about, this kind of piggybacking off that idea of like investing and being smart with your money is piggybacking off of that idea that we were talking about last time with being a first-time home buyer, how it's a bit harder, is the ideas of different ideas for creative financing. So like something I brought up last podcast I was in was how much harder it is as a first-time home buyer compared to someone who previously owned a home. Like I was talking with one of my buddies, and is interested in buying a place. And he's like, dude, the thing is, like, my parents bought a place in like early 2000s for like $200,000, and then they got equity, sold it for $400, got equity, sold it for $800, and it's like, what was their initial investment? So like, look how much stronger that buyer is because of equity and time compared to a first-time home buyer. So this is like the first time in decades where the younger generation is not the biggest and strongest buyer. So which is it's kind of an issue. So a few ideas I wanted to talk about for creative financing. We talked about the 3-2-1 buy down. We've already talked about that, I think, multiple times. We had a few lenders come in. If you don't know what that is, go to some of our old ones.
Here's the bottom line. There is a way to have an interest rate in the 5% range. And if you're interested in learning and knowing how to have an interest rate in the 5% range, just reach out to us.
Reach out. Because people think it's impossible. That's like the thing that bums me out the most. And the thing that gets me the most excited is when someone comes to me and they're like, hey, like, I know it's hard right now. I need your help. Like, what does it take? Instead it's like, oh, interest rates are high, I'm gonna wait it out.
Well, I think people just like a reason to not take action sometimes.
For sure, stay comfy.
You know what I mean? And there's another, here's that this is why I should just keep renting, or this is why I should not buy. This is why I should just have the flexibility to drive the car I want and eat sushi 10 times a month. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be disciplined another time. And the reality is that owning and buying real estate, if anybody saw my story on Friday, I took last Friday off to go on a tour with Alana through 4 of the properties that we have purchased over the years. And what's so crazy is that these were small purchases. These were purchases anybody could have made. The last one that I went to was a property where the neighbor just sold for almost $1 million and is on the less view side of the street. And our home is on the main view side of the street. That house almost sold for $1 million. We bought that house for $280,000. Our mortgage on that house is $1,650 a month. Lake views, lake rights. So think of that.
That's insane.
We owe $220,000 on that. So between that to Casa Eliana, which we bought for $747,000, and that's worth almost $1 million. Or the one we bought in 2020, which was, we call that one Casa Moonridge. We bought that for $400,000 even. That's about $600,000-ish now. You know what I mean? Like, I've earned in equity on those purchases close to what I earned this year. And what did I do? I had to do one thing. I had to pay the initial down payment because on the majority of those other properties, they're being rented out or we're making positive cash flow. You know what I mean?
And it's also like a huge thing that you got to do is like you have a lot of knowledge and also connections to help you find a deal. Like having the connections to find a deal is crazy. You have to find a deal.
Like anybody who's out there that's buying an Airbnb that is like totally done up, that's okay as long as there's a lot of good history and it makes sense. But in a perfect world, you're buying a fixer that you're planning on turning into an Airbnb. Right? Because then it's the best of both worlds. Then if you want to sell it, great. On just those 2 properties that I went, the first 2 generated $200,000, a little over $200,000 in rental income over this year. Right? Both of those mortgages combined on Casa Eliana, the mortgage on that is a little higher, is $36,000. On the other property, it's like $20,000. So $200,000 in income and $50,000 in mortgages paid minus property taxes. Like, bro, both of those properties, those 2 properties brought in a nice 6 figures in passive income.
So sick.
We don't deal with any of the issues. Amazing. It's just like, what did we do? We had the discipline to not go buy an oceanfront home, to not go and buy the next watch, to save and to be diligent so that we have the freedom to make these purchases.
I think we should have like an Airbnb buying class.
We should.
There's a lot of experts out there. I definitely wouldn't say I'm one of them yet, but I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
sure.
the biggest thing I would say, though, is you just got to go for it. Just get your hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm talking to Andrew a lot from Race Service, and he's working with C's on his first purchase.
Oh,
That's
nice.
sick.
And he asked me some questions about what to do, and he knows I'm very, very upfront and honest. I'm like, bro, if you don't get it for this price, don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really sick and it's really dope. I'm like, don't be attached.
Yeah.
Don't be attached. Rule number 1 when buying real estate, do not be attached. You have to get it for the price you want. You have to get it for the interest rate that you need, that you qualify for. Do not be attached.
Yeah.
And so just to see him as a good friend of mine who interviewed me on a podcast a long time ago, to now working at one of the dopest spots in the world, to now being qualified to buy a sick crib, it's so fun. There's nothing that I enjoy seeing more than having a friend that I meet on social media go through the motions and save. It's probably been a year-long process of learning and asking questions.
Yeah.
How do I get my credit score to an 8?
Mm-hmm.
How do I properly save this? How do I, you know what I mean? And just start. Your journey of buying a home could take 30 days and it could take 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you, once you actually take the step and you pull the trigger on something, if it's the right move, you're going to look back and be glad you did, because you're going to have some stability.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like as the saying goes, if you don't make money in your sleep, you're going to work till you die. And I think real estate is the best way to create a nest egg that you could live off of forever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well,
when are you buying your very first spot? What's the date?
Me?
Yep.
I would like to before I'm 25. I turned 25 in 2025.
Yeah.
So I would like to have a place that's like fully up and running by next year.
Let's go.
Like I was close this year,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but then I think next year is my year.
Yeah.
Like I'm turning 23
I actually
on
know
Friday.
the property.
You do?
Yeah.
Let's chat.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
it
talk
came
about
across
it.
my desk earlier today.
Let's go.
It's actually really
I'll check
crazy.
it out.
It's
I'm
600,000.
Okay.
And it's on an R2 lot.
Oh,
Yeah, not far from here.
Oh.
I'll
Yeah.
definitely check
Yeah,
that
You
out.
guys might need to split that thing.
Let's
I'm
go.
gonna have to-
For
I've
real.
been thinking about that. But in regards to that, I've also like kind of been thinking about a lot of like I was saying, the creative financing things. So I have 5 different options for creative financing.
Let's hear it.
So the first one we already talked about, 3, 2, 1, buy down. Talk
Okay.
to your lender. Talk to us. The next one is a first-time home buyer's loan. So obviously you have to be a first-time home buyer. And
How much do you put down on a
you
first
can
time
put
home buyer
as
program?
little as 3%.
3%.
Yeah. So if you don't have like a ton of cash, but maybe have good cash flow,
Right.
That's a good option for people, and it helps you get into a home. You don't want to
So
pay
you mean
rent
this
anymore.
house that I know about, that's $600,000, you could buy that with $18,000 down?
Yeah. So there's even something else. Like say there's a fourplex.
Right.
Right. And I use my FHA loan to buy a fourplex. I live in one unit. I can rent out the 3 other.
So let's say you find a fourplex and it's $800,000.
with 3%.
It's typically $700 or so for every $100,000 you borrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So your mortgage is going to be, after you putting your down payment, call it $5,500.
Mm-hmm.
And each of the other units rents out for, say, what do you pay for rent right now at your spot?
In Costa Mesa, I have a 1-bedroom. I'm paying $2,500
Woo.
for a 1
So
bedroom.
let's say
and there's 15
that this
units there. There's
that
15
person is
units there.
taking
Yeah, that person's killing
Wow.
it. It's really dope.
So this property that I know about, it's in the city of Orange. It's not in the market.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it was a fourplex. It's not, but let's just say it's a fourplex, and you can rent each of those units out. Let's say they're one bedroom, 1 bath. You can rent each of them out for $2,000.
Yep.
And it's a fourplex.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're living. That means you're getting paid $500 a month to live there.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. Even if you're breaking even, or even if you're rent,
amazing.
that's look at your equity. That's not including how much money you're getting on equity.
Okay,
Right.
so the first one was a 3-2-1 buy down. The second one was the first-time
First-time
home buyer
homebuyers. Mhm.
program,
Small down payment,
which is
which-
3%.
3%, and it would work on multifamily.
Come
which is crazy.
on. What
So-
price does that go up to in Orange County? Do you know?
I don't know actually.
I remember it used to be like 725. I'm pretty sure it's like over $1 million now.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 1.3.
Damn.
Yeah, but next would be, which is probably one of the best options, and it's one of the hardest to find. Is seller financing.
Seller financing.
Seller financing.
What is seller financing?
Seller financing is exactly what it sounds like. Basically, rather than going to the bank to get a loan, and if you go to the bank, you're getting 8% on your mortgage rate. If you go to the seller, you can just pay directly to the seller as if they were the bank. So obviously, if they want to sell their house, they most likely have to pay off their mortgage.
Yep.
Say you find someone, he's 89 years old, he's been living there for literally 50 years, he owes $100,000 on the house, which exists very often for these older cities, like even Costa Mesa.
Yeah.
And you're able to pay off his loan, and you just make monthly payments directly to him. Old Man Jenkins gets a monthly payment for the next however many years.
Old Man Jenkins. Those deals are out there.
They are out there. Yeah. There's plenty of sellers that even maybe they owe much more on them, and maybe you can sort out some sort of interest rate with them.
Wow.
And so as a seller, maybe you want to sell your home and you know that there's not a lot of buyers that are out right now that can afford it, but you're willing to just take monthly payments rather than a huge chunk of money at once. It's a great option too for a seller.
Well, there's also situations where people lost their job. Right? And they're having challenges with their payments. And so we have ways of finding homes, of course, that are have received a notice of default. So typically after not paying your mortgage for 3 months, what happens is you get issued a notice of default.
Oh, I knocked like 2 of those last week.
Yeah. And you can kind of save somebody from foreclosure as well.
Yeah. And that's something I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm taking advantage of them. Like it's not like maybe they feel wrong about it. You have to really look at it as like you are doing someone a service, because a lot of the time, if you're not the person to go help that person out, a lot of the banks that take away these houses, I just closed 2 short sales over the past month.
Wow.
Dude, the banks we're working with.
That's so insane that you have closed 2 short sales over the last month.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, dude, the collection companies we're working with, they were predatory. That's why they gave out these loans that they shouldn't have.
So for those who don't know what a short sale is, I have not done a short sale since the year 2012. They pretty much went away because of the way property values increased. But a short sales were 50. I've sold over 50 short sales in my career. From the year 2007 to the year 2011. 50% of every single home on the market was either a short sale or a foreclosure. Yeah. Foreclosure is when you lose your home to the bank. A short sale is when you work with the bank.
Yeah.
So you owe $2 million, prices tanked, and your home is now worth 1.5, and you still owe $2 million. So you're negative $500,000, and you can't afford your house anymore. Basically, you work out a deal with the bank. It does affect your credit, but it's not that bad. Where basically, it's foreclosure, you're jacked. You're not going to be able to rent something after a foreclosure. But you negotiate with the bank to sell your house for that new price.
Yeah. Luckily, actually, there were supposed to be 2 short sales. On the second one, last minute, we actually got a buyer and to pay above the loan amount. So we prevented the short sale. It was almost a short sale. But, dude, the banks do not care. They don't, I'm not saying this about all banks, just a lot of the banks that are predatory, like the ones we're talking about, they don't care.
Yeah.
They will just screw you over, kick you out, throw you on the streets. Gnarly. Yeah. So if you have the opportunity to go help a person out, why shouldn't you?
Yeah.
That was number 3. The 4th one would be a rent to own.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people know about this. It's pretty self-explanatory. Say I'm renting a property and the owner was willing to sell his home. For the owner of the home, it might be worth it for them to not go through all the work of putting their home on the market, and you have good rapport with them. Right. You can actually have an agreement with the owner of the home to pay a little bit higher in rent, and that extra portion that makes your rent higher can go towards a down payment over the span of a year. So imagine like your rent goes up an extra $500,
right? And
so for a year, every single month you have $500 going towards some crazy down payment. It doesn't have to be that amount. It can be whatever you agree upon. And then at the end of the year, end of the term, it's typically a year, you can have the opportunity to buy the home And if you can use that down payment and then you can get a loan, you don't have to compete with other buyers.
Nice.
So,
That's tight.
which is a huge thing, especially if you live in Orange County. Competition is one of the biggest things keeping other first-time home buyers out. So as long as you can qualify, even if it's a first-time home buyer's loan, that'll work. That's number 4. The 5th one is also can be harder to find because the owner of the home has to have the right type of loan.
Okay.
But you can assume a loan.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I've gotten pretty close to a few of these, and this works really well. Say a seller of a home, they have a great interest rate on their property. If you go get a loan, you won't get a great interest rate. So that's the scenario. And the seller is, maybe they're going to go rent for a while. Maybe they're going to go, just out of state or whatever. But they're down to sell their home and they're ready to let go of that loan. You can actually take over their loan. So the loan has to be assumable. Okay. Which is basically you're assuming their loan. Right. You're basically taking over their loan with their interest rate. So not every loan, you can't do it with every loan. I heard from someone recently, and I didn't even know you could do this. A friend of mine told me that they were able to, or had a client that was able to assume an FHA loan. Oh, wow. So they instead of buying and getting an 8% interest rate, they assumed that person's first-time homebuyer's loan at 2.5%.
Dang. That's crazy.
Can you imagine how much more power that gives you?
There is so much to do in real estate.
There's options.
There's so many ways. I mean, I just got back from Hawaii. We're learning about real estate out there. We were just in Nashville. We're learning about real estate out there. We've purchased properties in Montana and made a great amount out there. There's so much real estate and so much stuff to look at. You just have to be willing to explore. Yeah. And get your hands dirty and start to see what's possible for me in this game of real estate. Yeah. Everybody deserves to pay themselves when they're making their monthly payment to live. Everybody. Why not? Yeah. And I think if you set a plan and you save and you figure it out, there is a home out there where you can be paying yourself every single month. You just have to be willing to try. Yeah. If you would rather spend all your money in things that aren't going to make you any money, like your car and clothes and eating out, and you don't have the discipline, then hey, to each their own. It's not for everybody, but I think you can have a little bit of both. For sure. You know what I mean? You can go on trips. And you can still have nice things, but I think if you just have a little bit more discipline, you can also have a home that you own.
I think the cooler thing is, especially if a way to make passive income, how much cooler is it to go on these trips and go, buy the clothes you want, buy the things that you want with the money you made from passive income. Yeah. That's the best way to do it. Yeah.
Thatch is very close to. I think in the next 3 years or so, Thatch will be earning $1 million a month in passive income because he has over 200 doors, right? So imagine when all of those doors are completely paid off, what it's going to be like to have $1 million a month in passive income coming in after your mortgages are being paid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not including equity.
No, it's not including
Not including equity. Jeez. So I think at the end of the day, hugest thing is either if you are determined to invest in real estate, whether it's buying, selling, take the time to really decide if that's what you're about. And if you are, just know that there's options.
There's options. Yeah, and don't be attached. Don't put yourself in a situation that you don't know about 100%. And it takes time to learn. I've had deals that I passed on where I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I passed on that.
I know.
But I didn't have enough knowledge at that time, right? And so I think you just have to go and seek out the knowledge and get your hands dirty. And I've had a couple purchases where I'm like, ooh, that was not the right thing to do, and you learn. Yeah, but we never acquire or buy anything that in the event it doesn't work out, it's going to completely destroy us. Everything we buy, all the property, we have 4 homes that are in remodel process right now. 2 in the mountains, and then we have North Tustin, and then we have Costa Mesa. All 4 of these projects are all being remodeled as we speak that we purchased. That's not including the crazy remodel on our personal residence, but there's all mad equity in every single one. A home just sold for $4 million on the golf course. That's a single lot and a major fixer. We bought our house for close to half that, and it's a double lot. Jeez. And when we bought our house, we were nervous.
Yeah.
We were so nervous, like, oh my gosh, can we afford this? Yeah. Can we do this? But we trusted that we would figure it out, and I think that's the difference when you're trying to get some car or whatever it is compared to this investment that is going to further your life. It's like, I'll figure it out.
That's amazing.
It's good for you. It's like education.
Yep.
So there's 5 things. There's 5 things that I want to leave you all with as well in the project mindset portion of this. I call it the 5 C's, right? And these are 5 things that in the month of December that I would encourage you to go through a clearing process. And it's your crib, your car, consumption, connections, and your conscience, right? Call it the 5 C's. Your crib, your car, consumption, connections, and your conscience. Right. So first off, as you go into the race called 2024, you want to go into that race like as light as possible.
Yeah.
You want to eliminate any unnecessary baggage so that you could run as fast as you can at the highest level possible. So first, looking at your crib, what's unnecessary? What don't you need? What kind of unnecessary clothes, whatever it is that you need to clear out. Feng shui, so that you can operate at a high level. Your your car, where you're spending time driving around. How do you need to tighten that up? Your consumption, what you eat, what you drink, what you read, what you listen to. Connections. What connections do you have in your life where you're like, man, I need to unplug this connection a little bit. And your conscience, right? What conversations do you need to have with yourself and others to help you fly at a higher level?
Yeah.
That's all I got for
fire.
today. Right, the 5 C's, y'all. Go through a clearing process in the month of December so that you can operate and run through this race called 2024 at the highest level possible.
Just go.
Crib, car, consumptions, connections, and your conscience.
That's good.
Let's go.
Fire.
Anything else?
That's it.
Let's go, baby.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Cool.
All right, y'all. Episode number 18. Thank you for being here. This Wednesday, once again, we got it for you. It's On the House. I believe this is session number 3 of On the House. Come through. It's going to be a fire one. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Woo! Let's go.
Yeah.